Yo guys, welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about Crystal of Atlan. So as you guys know, I'm a very big MMORPG fanatic. So I love trying new MMORPGs, and I want to talk about this one. There's lots of things that I like a lot, and there's lots of things, maybe not lots of things, but there are some things that I really don't like. And so I want to talk about my initial first impressions. I've played about 10 hours or so, I think now. And I think I have a pretty good handle about where things are so far. Obviously, there'll be more to grow, and I think I'm going to continue covering this game in the future. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Before we get too far into it, I know there has been lots of problems with the PlayStation side of the game, but we are playing over on PC. I've streamed, like I said, probably more than 10 hours at this point, and everywhere I go, there's people. And so this isn't like the most popular area. I kind of went out of my way, and there's still people here. There haven't been any connection issues or server instabilities. Slight lag I occasionally have like that in the main cities, but it's not really a big deal. And overall, the performance has been pretty good, especially for a launch. So I haven't really been experiencing some of those things that people have been having issues with in terms of like getting into the servers and stuff. So we're just talking about my experience and what I've seen. Obviously, those are bad, and so hopefully players can get into the game and actually get a chance to experience it. But as much as we hate to say it, to be honest, that is somewhat of a launch experience for a new game across multiple platforms. There's always bound to be something that falls through. Unfortunately, it seems like it was the PlayStation side of things. So like I said, hopefully they get to play and everyone can check out the game. So obviously with any game that we play, and me in particular, I care the most about gameplay. Is it fun? MMOs, boss design, is it good? Are there things that we can min-max with our skills and stuff like that? And so I'm gonna go ahead and play you guys a clip of, this was from our very first stream. So our first 8 hours in the game, and what this was a duo piece of content. It's literally designed to be either soloed or duoed, which is amazing. I'll go ahead and start playing it. We originally failed when we started doing this, and so we had to come back. I had to change my skills and be more of the support that my class is supposed to be. But as you can see, like, the combat feels very fluid. We're just kind of interchanging our abilities and trying to survive and dodge the enemy and stuff like that. But this boss has a mechanic where he actually goes and he splits into three and then does additional things you have to dodge, but then you have to figure out where the real one is and then kill him while also dodging a bunch of his other mechanics. So this, for reference, was at level 32. The maximum is level 60. So this is a pretty cool and interesting boss fight from even a pretty low or like, mid-leveling kind of scenario, right? And so there was like a situation where I wasn't sure what was going on at first, but then I had to figure out like, okay, this guy, one of them shoots a beam. So then I realized that I probably have to kill that one, etc. So there's things to figure out. There's fun, intricate boss design. We have to jump over these waves that come pulsing out. Uh, really, really have enjoyed all of my experience in the combat in this game. It feels great. I really, really like it a lot, and I'm hoping that that will continue. It seems like the choices that you make in your skill tree, which we'll get more into later, are meaningful and actually do play a significant role. This game already has like damage statistics. You can see there's a button over there on the left-hand side, so they have their own kind of meter. There's lots of amazing things in this game. I'm so far a very big fan of a lot of pieces. Uh, Most importantly, the combat. The combat is very, very fun. And I really highly recommend anyone trying this game to really, really read your abilities, see what they're doing, and then try and make your own build. To me, that's like the most fun that you can have in these kind of games, and it really pays off. I did more dungeons yesterday with some random people and stuff like that, or more content with others, and it became immediately apparent that my build was significantly more powerful than the people we were playing with. And in some cases, they were the same class where they had double my gear power. And in that case, I was still keeping up with them and even beating them at times. So really going out and reading and making sure you min max your build. There's a ton of build progression here. There's ways that you can learn to play, their skill expression, it's top notch. It really is. As you can see here, my friend even died or whatever. So like, even though he has the support now, my support, he still, did die, and then I did have to finish it off. But I was able to do that even as a support. So even as a support, you can still do damage and everything too. So lots of different aspects of this game that I'm a really big fan of. And maybe most importantly is the variety of content for this game. There's content for single, duo, four mans, and eight mans, which are phenomenal. So this was another boss, but I'm just gonna play it kind of as background information. Just while I talk a little bit more about this, I do think it is important that this content is made specifically for these ranges of people. Lost Ark and other games do this weird thing where they try and take content that was not designed to be solo and make it solo content. And I think it makes a really weird, like Frankensteinish version of those pieces of content and doesn't really help you learn what you're supposed to do in that content as a team. And so the fact that this game already has content that's actually developed and designed to be, solo or duoed or whatever, that's amazing. I think that's really really good, and that's something that I'm probably the biggest fan of right now for this game. I haven't done the true like dungeons or raids end game yet, so obviously that's still to be seen. But I'm very very happy that there's such a variety of content right now, including yesterday. I didn't actually get to participate, but I got to watch Saint do what was essentially like Fall Guys. And so there's like either even fun like external activities. We'll kind of show you more of that later. There appears to be like even, races and things like that. So the fact that the game isn't just about combat, I think is also really, really cool. So I kind of mentioned it before, but one of the things I'm the most excited about for this game is going to be build crafting. I'm excited to see what it has to offer. We've already seen like little, tidbits here and there. So I'll go ahead and show you guys the stats really quick, just so for reference. Strength is your physical attack, intelligence, magic attack, agility is your armor and your crit. So this kind of comes back to, I think, the days of World of Warcraft, where agility used to be armor and crit as well. And then this is your magic armor and your magic crit, and then your stamina like normal. But if we scroll down here, you can see all kinds of things from crit rate to crit damage, attack speed, cooldown rate, healing effect. Even further, we see elemental enhancements, and even further down, all kinds of stuff. Damage to bosses, damage to beasts, damage to bleeding, etc. All of this stuff, it looks like a lot of knobs to play with, and I'm really excited to see how we can take advantage of those in the build crafting that we do later on late game. We can already see some pretty interesting effects on some of the gear that we've gotten, and again, this gets me more excited about what we have to see in the future. So after casting a finisher, we have crit rate plus 4%, normal main attributes and everything like that. And then I have this right here too. So after triggering an extreme dodge, you and your teammates damage plus 2%. So things like that I think are really cool and really interesting snapshots into what I think we'll see later on. And I'm excited to see more of that gear as we go. Real quick before we get too far from our gearing and stuff like that, I know you guys can't really see, but there's a button in the bottom left hand corner which, and when I press, opens this. So what this is like basically a gearing progression guide. And just kind of shows you where you're supposed to be. So right now I am level 40. I should be looking at getting these with the green hammer and the green stuff here. This is just saying I can craft these, so don't worry about that. It just is something that I can craft from older gear because I haven't upgraded my gear in a while. But this is showing me this is where I should be looking to upgrade my gear right now. But you can also see there's all kinds of gear towards the end over here, and we can even take a look at some of the gear that you'll get to see later on, and how interesting and how cool they could be. You don't actually get to see any of this gear on your character. It just is something that's like a stat stick that you equip. I'm actually okay with that. It's not really a big deal. But the point being is that you always know where you're supposed to go or what you're supposed to do. As if I click on this and then I say, where do I get it? So source, it opens up here, and I can get it from the adventure story, the elite, or I can craft it. And then here it even shows you what does it take to craft these pieces down here. So Again, this is just a nice way that you can see, okay, I can upgrade all of these pieces here. How do I do that and what do I do to get it? I really, really like that. That's a really nice way to kind of narrow it down and just make it easy for people to know where they're supposed to go and, how they progress their gear. Another thing I want to talk to you guys about is how this game focuses around your characters. And if you look at this, you'll notice that my main is 13, almost 14,000 power, and my alt is 12,400 power. So that's actually pretty close together, and we can kind of see that here too. My main is level 45, my alt is level 36. Now there is time gating in place that is preventing me from progressing my main further. However, I do think that this game is trying to be a roster-wide game. They have this whole thing set up already, and as you can see, I'm Adventure Team level 2, and if you look right here, you can even see I'm gaining additional team-wide attribute bonuses because I have a roster size the way that I do. And so I think what this game is trying to do is it's trying to get rid of the idea that you have a main, and it's trying to say, okay, you have a lot of stuff to do across all of your characters. And this is kind of further reinforced by the way that this stuff works. So all of these characters have there's like some shared things, but most of them are separate for the good and the bad. So when you're leveling, whether it be your gathering skills or whatever, those are all separate. Your pets are separate. Um, I'm hoping maybe paid pets aren't separate. I don't really know about that. There might be some things that are shared. In particular, I'll show you guys in the pay to win section. A title that I believe is shared, but I don't really know for sure yet. But this also means that you get to double dip on some of the rewards. And so if we go to our mail, you'll see for hitting level 40, I got these items. These are like in-game like summons, quote unquote, for like skins. And so these are things that you get to double dip on and kind of, get to take advantage of all multiple your characters. It also works for the events. So like login bonuses, for example, the pets. This pet right here, I was able to get on both of my characters. And so it also works for skins, right? So login skins. So I was able to get the maid skin outfit on both of my characters as well. So there's some things that are shared and some things that are not shared, and it seems to be for the most part things aren't shared. We'll have to get into that more later as we find out more things that are shared, but we'll just leave it at that. The whole thing is that like yes, there is time gating in place, but I do very much think that this is going to be a game about your roster, about your characters and experiencing all the vast content that this game has to offer with all of them. It does mean that when you do things like hit wave 45 in the activity, you have to do that on every character, but again, you get rewarded for doing it on every character. So you can just play one character and play less, or you could play more and get more power and more, build up your roster, have more time in the game, and, just kind of enjoying it along the way. As I did mention that there is a time gating mechanic, I didn't quite explain what that was. So, the time gating mechanic in this game is energy. Hooray for Genshin Impact and all of those energy gotcha games. So this is somewhat tied to that. So if we go to a story mode, what you'll see is that this costs energy in order to run. It seems to be that most missions, not events, cost energy. So I'm not really sure what that is. There is a difference, by the way. There is character energy and there's account energy. The difference between that hasn't really been super clear to me yet. I'm assuming we'll understand that more as time goes on, but it does limit to what you can do in a day. And that is part of the reason why, when I was talking about the characters, you guys saw that my main was 45 and my alt is 36. And the reason for that is because I ended last play session basically at 45 because I ran out of energy. And so what this has naturally done is it has been kind of a progression point where everyone progresses to like the new max and then everyone sort of stops. Even the whales don't seem to be pushing past 45, even the whales in my fleet and stuff like that, my guild. So it does seem like there's some kind of hard cap. Maybe there's not a lot of spending opportunity. Maybe people are just waiting and taking their time. I don't really know. But like I said, I think this all kind of further, plays into the idea that this game is about your roster and not about a main character. And just to be clear, I don't like having an energy. I would prefer to be able to just grind all the stuff, get to max level as fast as I want. But if this is their way of doing it, doing the time gating, so that way we don't just get to the end game and have nothing to do, then I guess I'm okay with it. It is what it is, and like I said, there's already a wealth of other content and things that we're working on every single day, to the point where even though I can have multiple characters and I've been able to put in, more than 10 hours, I still only have 2 characters instead of 6. And ideally, I think you do want to play 6 like every single day potentially. There is, like I said, some amount of rested bonus and stuff like that, but I don't really know how that stuff works yet. So ideally, I would be playing this even more than I think I'm playing it right now if I was really trying to be optimal. But I think that this game, like I said, is just done in a way where they're trying to let you enjoy multiple characters, all the content, and everything they have to offer. So, and since we're still talking about gear, we can just talk about honing. All right, so we enhance gear the way you would in many other games by random chance. And so you can actually transfer over your gear. So if I get a new weapon after I've upgraded this weapon to +9, I can transfer it over, and the new weapon will gain additional power as well. So you'll see here, we just kind of just keep pressing the button until it succeeds. As far as I know, there doesn't appear to be a pity, but up to level 10, which is, the point where you can do it from anywhere before you have to go into the city, usually where I kind of leave my weapons and stuff like that. Um, it's not too bad. 20% is not too terrible. But as you can see here, there are ways to increase your rate, and even vouchers that you can get from things in the game that basically give you the ability to like either guarantee or like, in this case, I get a lot of levels can be used up to +13 and stuff like that. So it's pretty good. And so far, I assume late game it's gonna be insane, right? It's gonna be like 1% chance. You're just gonna sit here pressing the button over and over and over again. It is what it is. Every pay to win gotcha game wants you to do this kind of, sorry, not it's not a gotcha game, it's an MMO, but every pay to win game wants you to do some kind of random chance thing, so that way, like, you know, it hits the dopamine, it just kind of like the symptom of what the game has like, the genre has kind of come to. So, um, mostly okay with this. We'll have to see later on, but I am keeping in the back of my head that this may be very painful, just like it is painful in Lost Ark as you get further on down the road. And then one last little comment: so there are other things like circuits and outfits. You can see there's titles. Even titles give you stats. This was from like a Team Liquid event. You can see that it's different. It gives you shield break, and then there's like rarities and stuff like that, versus the one that I'm currently using is attack speed and then cooldown rate. Um, you do get this one that I'm wearing for free, so that's good to know. But there are some pay to win ones that seem very powerful. Again, I'll get into that in the pay to win section. But there's lots of things to do. Even outfits give you stat bonuses, and some outfits that again pay to win stuff you'll see even have set bonuses on top of your regular set bonuses. So you're stacking set bonus on set bonus. Hopefully we can craft some of those late game. Just, hold it on the back of your mind for right now. I don't want to judge it too hard based on what I can see, but we're going to have to see how powerful it is late game. Now, I know that that may have sounded like I don't like any of these systems. That's not actually true. So I just want to make it very clear. I think it's actually cool that there are things that you can chase and ways that you can get upgrades in a lot of different ways. It does kind of convolute the game a little bit, but I think so far the game has done a pretty good job of introducing me to all of these things and showing me that they are important. So I'm kind of okay with it for right now. And I think it is cool that there are, upgrades that you can chase. You can try and get better circuits, or you can get some sigils. And even circuits are like cool gems that you can like remove and then place in, again, and not have to worry about it. And when you replace your gear, you get to keep your circuits. So sigils don't work that way. Sigils are more permanent, and that's a bigger issue, but I'm not really investing in those right now or using them right now. So again, kind of leave that for now. But I think it is cool. There are chases and upgrades that you can work on across various different systems that are all going to work together. All right, so I've briefly mentioned it, but there is a variety of content in this game too. And so all kinds of stuff from ranked PvP to obviously the story and stuff like that. There's a challenge section over here which talks about this. This is a 4-man wave-based content, which I have really liked so far. Apparently, it even goes all the way up to like level 300. After some point, you do have to solo, which is interesting as well. Again, I really like the variety of content in this game. So there's Duel of Bonds. These are characters that you meet in the story, and you get rewards for beating them in a PvE encounter. It doesn't have the same rules as PvP. There's the arena. So this was that thing, that piece of content I showed you earlier, that it's made for solo and duoing. I really, really like it so far. It seems like there will be more fights that get harder as we progress. So I'm excited to see what that entails. And does seem like the rewards are pretty good as well. There's the Void Realm. I haven't actually done this yet. I just unlocked this at the end of my play session last night before reset. And so I need to still do this, but I'm excited to see it and see what it has to offer. The Golden Fleece seems to be random pieces of content. The name has me very curious. It says Swift Shade Racetrack. So I'm excited to open it and see. Some of this stuff is only open for various limited times. So even though the Fall Guys thing was active yesterday, it was only for a few hours. So you do need to log in during the right time to do that content. But again, very excited that there's all this variety of content in the game. And then this is just your regular training dummy, but it does have some tutorials and stuff like that to teach you things like aerial combat. And then there's like some related to your class. And so yeah, just kind of teaching you the basis of that, teaching you how to extreme dodge, which is like a perfect dodge in other games. Again, there's a pretty wide variety of content here. Even the story mode, if you go to your adventure, has a elite and regular story mode that has different rewards. And then yeah, there's even an exploration mode, which I'm not sure how to get back to it right now. But basically, there's an exploration mode that allows you to go out into the areas that you have already explored, and then you can do like gathering, stuff like that. So that way you can craft your gear. I assume that's going to be very, very important late game, and there are gathering levels and everything too. Okay, so I just want to make this abundantly clear. I have enjoyed so many things about this game, whether it be everything from the diversity of content to the skill building to the gear crafting potential to even just having like the fleet chat and stuff like that that people interact with, the guilds and stuff like that. And so all of these things I've really, really enjoyed. However, this all comes with a huge but at the end of it, and that but is the monetization. And so naturally, a free-to-play game, the monetization is going to be kind of the big sticking point. And I can honestly say this might have the most convoluted and most overdone. It's hard to describe, but basically, I could literally make an entire video on the monetization for this game alone. So, to briefly go over it, there are, again, this is going to be very, very brief. There are pet summons, there are skin summons. Skin summons also give you access to something else or a few other things that you can try and do. You can try and get a title, which, by the way, if you look at this, seems pretty insane compared to my title right now. So doubles the main attributes, and then 20 physical attack, 20 magic attack, 4 crit, 4 magic crit, 6% crit damage, 3 movement speed, 2% additional gold gain, 5% flat damage, and then upon entering combat game, the Supreme one attacks have a 30% chance to deal 10% additional damage, and allies within 30 meters have a 20% chance to deal 10% additional damage. So when you compare these two titles, they are pretty significant, right? And this title in particular does say shareable. I assume that means you can share it on your roster, but I don't know. I also don't know if they're going to be, double S titles that you can get from clearing raids or other things like that. Hopefully there are something end game where you can earn a title similar to this, but we'll have to see. You know, you can use the gold consignment shop to make some of these currencies and be able to summon these things yourself. Being able to use this should alleviate at least a little bit, you know, how much these things interact. But again, I don't know how egregious they're going to be. I don't know how much gold you're going to be able to get in order to sell and make more currency. So I'm trying to, you know, have everything, you know, in the back of my mind when I'm thinking about this game. And while I love everything else, I do recognize that this could be a real big pain point for this game. It could be one of my realistically only downsides of this game. It actually does get a little bit worse too. So if you do spend money on this game, you'll see that you can get token trades here for the same amount of opal. And then, or sorry, voucher trades, sorry, for the same amount of opal. And then while you do that, you'll get this thing over here, which if you look at some of the packs, you'll be able to see this is what's called points. And there are things in the mileage shop down here in the top up section, the points shop. This is kind of something that's really bothering me right now, and I'm trying to get over it, but it's pretty annoying. I understand that there should be things for players that spend a lot of money in a game like this, but this seems kind of egregious to me. So if I did my math correctly, this skin, which is a great skin, by the way. Love this skin. I would actually really love to have this on my main. It would be really cool. I think it's a really phenomenal skin. I like the effects and the butterfly and stuff like that. It looks great. It costs 2 million points in order to unlock. Now, if I did my math correctly, that is $30,000. I don't think any video game ever should encourage players by having things at that kind of threshold. This is egregious to me. Now, realize that it does have what looks to be the same set effects as the other ones, which shouldn't cost $30,000. But again, it feels really strange to me that there's even, this is something that we even have to talk about, that you can actually get something in a video game by spending $30,000. That's like a brand new car or a down payment on a house or, you know, several other things. I never encourage anybody to spend that amount, even if you can, to be honest, because it's just flat out not worth it. And I think it's kind of egregious that they even have as an option. So again, I could make an entire video talking about all the different things. There's like 9 different currencies here, and they intertwine, and sometimes you get them when you summon like these. Sometimes you get them when you summon for the outfits and stuff like that. And it's just this whole thing. And there's some really great skins. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna get, how you get 2,500 of these, but man, I would love to get 2,500 of these for my alt. This skin looks phenomenal. Love the way a lot of the outfits look in this game. They look great. But it seems like insane. Like obsessively horrible. Like I don't even I'm every time I think about this, I just get even more and more baffled. And I'm trying not to let it, you know, overtake, you know, what I appreciate about this game, because there is a lot to appreciate. There just is also a lot of weird pay to win things that might come into play and might be a bigger deal than we know of at the start. So again, it's just something I'm keeping in the back of my mind, and something that I'm trying to not let you know, put too big of a shadow over the things that are good. Because like I said at the beginning and even before this segment, there are a lot of things that I really, really, really like about this game. And for the most part, the gameplay loop I'm fine with, even with the stamina. This is the time gate mechanic that I mentioned before, but they don't really monetize it from what I can tell. It seems to just be like a time gating and encouraging you to maybe play your roster. Because even then, each character gets different like energy refills and stuff like that from rewards and quests and dailies and stuff like that too. So, you know, just in the back of your head, kind of have that as a thing. And then I'm trying to enjoy the game. Like I said, I'm definitely going to play this game more. We're going to definitely go to endgame for sure. And I want to do, check out some of those harder raids and really see what this game has to offer at the high end. See how bad the monetization feels at that point. Maybe we're just making an obscene amount of gold when you get to endgame. And so then you can get to do all those summons, whether it be the title or this outfits or whatever. We'll have to see. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, interact with the video down below if you want to see more. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more too. And yeah, overall, I've really enjoyed Crystal of Atlan, and I plan to keep playing it. Really hoping that monetization doesn't get in the way of what this game has to offer. But yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Have a good one. Peace.